We're devastated we can't be there in person today and that COVID and the risks involved have prevented us from travelling to be with our family to celebrate the life of my wonderful Nan, Dorothy Bond. It is of course a sad occasion, but at the same time the opportunity to reflect on the many times she made us smile. I've been asked today to relay some memories that I and other members of my family have in the hope that they make you smile as well. We all remember Nan as a feeder. She could certainly make great beer battered fish, caught by my pa, of course, the best coleslaw salad, sausage rolls and cornflake cakes. There was always so much food and none of it was allowed to go to waste. It didn't matter if you pleaded with her that you were full and couldn't possibly fit another thing in, she always insisted you have another helping. On the other hand, she didn't hesitate to tell you if it looked like you'd put on a few kilos and then go on and force feed you another piece of cake. She loved doing laundry and housework in general, something we all definitely took advantage of over the years. She always offered to do our washing, and I mean, how could we refuse? On one occasion when Mal was visiting, she did a load for him and came across a shirt with purposefully frayed edges. She was horrified, thought it needed mending. So when Mal came back later to pick up his washing, his new shirt looked very different. She had incredible energy and was always on the hunt for something to clean, iron, mend or organise. We'd tell her to relax, but if there was a job that needed doing, there was no chance of that. For Leonie, a vivid memory is of the day after her dad, my Uncle Charlie, died. They were driving back from East Lynne, and Nan commented on the trees and how dirty they all looked, how she wished she had a mop and bucket so she could give them all a good scrub. I'm sure she would have if she could. For my Auntie Sylvia, she remembers the advice Nan gave to her. Always make your bed and do the dishes before you go anywhere for the day. That's all part of being a good housewife. Nan was super organised. If she was heading out for the day, she'd be up really early getting ready. If it was a longer trip, she'd be packed about 5 days in advance and couldn't understand why on earth we would wait until the day before, or even, God forbid, the day of departure to pack ours. Overall, her days were busy and productive, and pretty much the minute she did sit down, she'd fall straight off to sleep. Bronwyn remembers one morning that she babysat Ashley for her. She called Ashley her little man. He was about 7 months old, and when she got back at lunchtime to pick him up, they were both cuddled up on the lounge, sound asleep. Speaking of cuddles, hers were the best and delivered with maximum force. There was no escaping her hugs. How she didn't actually break bones, I don't know. But it's just proof of how much she loved us all. Mal, Bron and I have great memories of Golf Links Drive. We spent pretty much all our childhood holidays there. We thought her false teeth were hilarious and she'd put on a show of slipping them in and out of her mouth. It was also our job to brush her hair and she'd sit on the lounge room floor and we'd all take turns. The three of us slept in the middle bedroom and she'd barge in the mornings and say, "Wake up, you dopey dicks." Or if we told her about an achievement at school, she'd say, "Well, aren't you a clever dick?" And of course, as kids, the word dick would just send us into fits of giggles. We all love to hear the story of how she lost the top of her middle finger when she was 6 years old. For those who don't know, her brother Harry was digging a hole in the backyard with a shovel, and she was helping by scooping out the dirt with her hands. He didn't want her help and told her that if she didn't stop, that he'd chop her fingers off. And that's exactly what happened. This was back in 1930, and great-grandma had to hitch up the horse and jinker and take Nan and her severed fingers into the doctor. Needless to say, Harry disappeared and they didn't see him until much later that night. He knew he was in big trouble. It's a great story and I never tired of hearing it. I also remember her love of sport, particularly AFL and the tennis. She'd stay up half the night watching Wimbledon, and she'd always be yelling at the TV when the footy was on, and my dad would be rolling his eyes when she didn't perhaps completely understand the rules, but she was passionate regardless. Nan was very thoughtful and caring. As we grew older, she would always ask about our partners, and for us girls, make sure that we were looking after them, even though we assured her that they were all big boys and could very capable of looking after themselves. She was always looking out for her great grandkids as well, making sure, are they warm enough, and of course, do they need anything to eat? Leonie remembers her always pulling up pants and tucking in shirts. She was extremely proud of her family. Her standard introduction for Bronwyn to her friends at the manor was, "Do you know Bronwyn? She owns Travel Team." She also loved to show off her great-grandkids to the other residents and staff at the manor as well. We were all very blessed to have her in our life for so long. And for our own children, they're old enough to have their own memories of their little Nan, which is just wonderful. So to finish, her eldest great-granddaughter, Mia, would like to read a short poem. Thanks.
As eldest great-granddaughter, I dedicate this poem to my little Nan. You are near, even if I don't see you. You are with me, even if you are far away. You are in my heart, in my thoughts, in my life always.